Hello and welcome to another Unreal Engine 5 tutorial. In this video we'll be creating an options menu with a low, medium, and high, and we'll be able to save and load those settings. We'll also create frame rates for 30, 60, and unlimited, so you don't need to follow any of my other videos to follow this one. However, in order to view the settings menu, if you followed the tutorial so far, you can either access it through the options or in the main menu. There's nothing in the options menu right now, it's just a really simple widget, and if you haven't followed along with the tutorials, I can show you really quick how to make it. It's not too complicated. All you do is right click, scroll down, user interface, widget blueprints, and then you just open that up, type in canvas panel, drag it in. I'm also just going to drag in a button as well, and then go to your third person character, and on the event begin play, you would just want to create a widget, add to viewport, and then add the options widget that you created. You can see that it's just right there. However, we've already created one, so I'm just gonna delete this, and then I'm also gonna come back to the third person character, delete that because we don't need that, then compile, clear that of that. So since we have our options widget created already, we can open that up, and first I'm going to get a horizontal box. I'm going to drag that into the canvas panel, and then I want the Z order to be 1, and then I'm going to have the all across the top one right here, and then I'm going to change this offset right to 0, that way it spans across the top, and then I want to drag this back button into here, and I'm going to copy, and then horizontal box I'm going to paste, so that way I can paste the button. And for this I'm going to select the text for this one, and then I'm going to call this video, or you can call it graphics, and then for this one I'm going to call it audio, and then I'm going to get a spacer, and then drag it in between these, and you want to drag this one right here, and then I'll copy, paste it again, drag it in between these ones, and then copy and paste it again, use the arrows to bring it over here, so this is to give some space between the side, and then I'm also going to get a border, and then put that right there, put that across the top as well. I'm going to do size to content, and select the horizontal box, drag it into the border, and then I'm going to zero out all of this stuff right here. There you go, that looks good. And then I'm going to take the color that I have on the background, I'm going to right click, copy, and then I'm going to select the border, and don't change the content color and opacity, otherwise that'll change everything inside of it. I'm going to come down to appearance and change the brush color. I'm going to paste this in here, and I'm going to give this a darker color. And then I'm going to come into the horizontal box, and I'm going to go over to the padding, and for the top I'm going to change it to 10, and the bottom to 10. And you can change that however you'd like. That just gives it space between that. And then I'm going to select the spacer right here, and I'm going to give it a little bit more room. So now up here we'll be able to switch between our video and audio settings, and we can go ahead and delete these. And the next thing we want to do is go up to the search bar, type in widget switcher, and drag that onto the canvas panel. I'm going to do F2, get rid of the number, so it's just widget switcher. And then I'm going to change the anchor to be the entire thing, and then just change everything to 0. And the next thing we want to do is in our UI, we want to right click, user interface, widget blueprint, and then I'm going to call this widget video settings, and then we'll open that up, get a canvas panel, drop it in, and then I'm going to come over to the options and get the background, and then I'll paste that in so that we have the same background. And then also I'm going to come over to the widget options, select the horizontal box, and then shift click to select all of this stuff, just the horizontal box and all the buttons inside, so copy, and then go to canvas panel and paste. On the horizontal box, do size to content, and Z order to 1. And then I'm just going to delete this spacer right here, because I want the space between it to be equal, so then I'll just duplicate that and delete that one as well. And I want this to be in the middle, so I'm just going to zero out all of this stuff. You'll see it's not in the middle though, so I'll get the alignment and do 0.5, 0.5 to make it in the center. And I'm going to rename this to low, medium, and high. And then I'm going to select the spacer, the button, text, and then I'll copy, select the horizontal box, and paste. And then I'll change this to epic. And then I want to get some text, drag that into the horizontal box, and with the text selected, I'm going to drag that up to the top all the way over here, and then I want to change the vertical alignment to the center, and I also want to get the spacer, copy and paste that, bring that over here, and then I'm going to rename the text to quality, And I'm also gonna go to the font and turn the size up a bit. So that's looking pretty good. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna rename all this. So low, medium, high, and epic, and then quality text. Next, I'm going to select everything, copy, and then go to the canvas panel and paste, and then collapse these and select any one of these. Take the Y position and just drag it down. I'm gonna get a vertical box and I'm gonna drag both of these in here, and then get the vertical box, set order to 1, size to content, and then also anchor to the middle, 0.5, 0.5. Next, I want to get a spacer, drag that in between, and you want to drag this one, and then the bottom one I'm going to change to FPS for frame rate, and on low I'm going to choose 30, medium I'll do 60, high I'll do 120, and then epic I'll do unlimited. And on this bottom horizontal box, I want to change the horizontal alignment to middle, and I'll do the same for this one up here. That way it's just centered. And then to be able to see this, we're going to go back to our widget options, and up in the search palette, we're going to type in widget video settings. If it's not showing up, make sure to compile, and then if it's still not showing up, close out of options, and then open it back up and try it again. So we can just take this, drag it over here, and then drag the widget switcher up to the top over here, and then I'm just going to get rid of the background, and then now we can see it. And I'm going to take the widget video settings, copy and paste. I'm going to get rid of the one, use the arrow keys, and all I'm going to do is change video to audio. And then in the audio settings, I'm just going to leave it the same for now. We'll change it later, but I'm going to come into the options and compile everything, and then I'm going to type in audio settings, and then I'll plug that in and make sure that it's the second one. And actually, just so you can see the difference, I'm going to get rid of all the stuff in here. So I'll delete that, compile, and you can see that when I click on the different ones, it's switching between the video and the audio settings. And the way that we switch between this is we want to click on our video button on clicked, and then I want to get the widget switcher, and then I want to set active widget index, plug that in, and we'll have that as 0. For the audio, we'll do on clicked, copy and paste this, and then set that to 1. So now if we play and you press tab to pause, go to options. If I click the audio, you can see it changes. If I go to video, it goes back to video. And I'm just going to move this down a little bit since we have the bar up here. So next thing we want to do is open all of these up. So we're going to click on these one by one and then click on clicked. So we'll go through these low, medium, and high, and epic. So once you've finished clicking on all of these, doing on clicked, we can come up here, delete this stuff, and I'm going to come over to the low, and I want to get user game settings. And if you've done saving and loading games before, you have to create a whole nother blueprint and create all the variables and all that stuff. With the game settings, it's super convenient and it does all the saving and loading already. It has all the functions. So out of here, I'm going to set the post-processing quality. If you wanted to do all of the different things like shadow quality, anti-aliasing, all that stuff in different buttons. So if I had the low post-process quality button, then this is all I would do, and then I would apply settings, untick check for command lines, and then that would be all for that button. However, we're just going to stuff all the settings into one, because I just have the one line low, medium, high, epic, and I just find that simpler for me. However, if you want to go more advanced, it's the exact same thing. You would just change this to like shadow quality, and then you would select everything in this box, go to vertical box, paste, and then you would just rename this one to like anti-aliasing, and then you'd have to do the same thing for all these buttons. It's time consuming, but it's pretty simple. It's just the same thing over and over again. I'm just going to stuff everything inside these buttons though, just for simplicity. So I'm going to get rid of this for now, and then I'm going to keep adding stuff. So next I'm going to set the anti-aliasing, and then texture quality, and then shadow quality, and then we can apply settings. And make sure to untick the check for command line overrides. And then before we continue with this, I'm going to come over here, I'm going to right click, add custom event. I'm going to call this save user settings, and I just want to get the user settings, and then I want to save settings. And then it's super simple, that's how you save it. And then I'm also going to get event destruct, just so if they forget to save, it will automatically save when the widget is closed. So I'll come over here, save user settings and make sure it's the function that we just created. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm just going to select everything, right click, and then collapse the function. And I'm going to call this apply settings. And I'm going to double click to open that up. And I'm going to drag off a value and just drop it in here. And I just want to do that for all of these, just plugging it in. And I'm just going to keep that at value. So over here, we can just choose the setting quality. 0 is the lowest quality that you can go. After that is 1, and then 2. So I'm just going to make that 4 actually because it's epic. 4 is the highest, and it starts from 0. So we just enter in this number, and then it applies the settings for us. So I'm just going to select everything, hit C to comment. I'm going to call that quality and show a bubble. And then I'm going to select this one, hit C to comment, and then I'll call this save user settings and show bubble. And right away it's going to work. So if I click on this tab options and I select the low quality and I go back, you can see that the quality is extremely low. There's no shadows and it looks pretty bad. However, if I click tab and go to options and I click epic and click back, you can see that the quality is very good, and we can also go in between like medium, and there's not too much of a difference, but there's a little bit of a difference. So next we're going to go back to the designer, and we're going to do basically the same thing with the FPS. So select each of the buttons and just click on clicked, and then once you've done all that, we'll have all of the functions right here. I'll just drag this up, and I'm going to come up here to functions and copy and paste, and I'm just going to add FPS settings, and then in between this one I'm going to call it apply quality settings. So in the apply FPS settings, I'm going to delete this stuff right here, just the setting the qualities, and we're going to change that to the FPS. So I'll drag this in here, and then off of here you want to set the frame rate limit, and then we want to come up here and change this value to a float. That way we can just plug it in like that. And then that's all we do for the set frame rate. So we'll go back to the event graph, and then it will come up here, and all we need to do is drag the apply FPS settings, and I'm going to come over here and rename all these buttons, and I'm going to call it 30 FPS, 60 FPS, and so forth. So now that I have those renamed, you can see that it shows correctly. So I'm just going to change this to 30, and then I'll copy and paste 60, 120, and then for unlimited, you actually just want to do 0. And just to show you that it's working, I'm going to change this value to 12, and so when I go into my settings, options, and I click the 30, which is now changing it to 12, you can see that everything is very low frame rate. It looks awful, but you can see that it is changing the frame rate. So I'm going to change that back to 30, and you can change this to unlimited, 60, 120, and you can see that looks very smooth. So I'm going to select this, C, call it FPS, and then show bubble. And then I'm going to create one more button, and I'm just going to select one of these and copy, go to canvas panel, paste, size content, set order to 1, and I'm going to anchor it in the bottom left. So I'll change all these values to 0, and then position this to be over here, and I'm going to change the text to be auto, and this will automatically choose the settings. And then I'll also change the button name as well to auto. So with the button selected, I'll scroll down and do unclicked, and I'm going to open this up right here. I'm just going to select this right here, go back to the event graph, and then paste, and then just plug this in and delete the frame rate, and it's pretty easy. We're just going to drag off of here, run hardware benchmark, and then this is just going to run a hardware benchmark and then apply the settings according to what it found, like what your graphics card, what your CPU is, and then it'll apply the settings best to that. So I'll click C, then call this auto, and then show bubble. So that's going to automatically change the settings. Next, I'm going to select this part right here and then paste, and then I'm going to call this load user settings. Then off of get game user settings, I'm going to apply settings. And then one thing I forgot to do is before here, I want to drag off of here and apply hardware benchmark results. And then we'll just plug that in. And then back to the load user settings, untick check for command line overrides, and then we'll just select that, C to comment, and then load user settings and show bubble. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. We now have video settings, so I can go to my main menu or my pause menu, and I can open it right up. We can choose from low, medium, high, or epic, 30 frames per second, 60, 120, or unlimited, or we can also choose auto. This one takes a second to load, and once it does, it'll choose the settings for you. Alright, so that's all for this video. In the next video, we'll be setting up the sound settings, so the music, sound effects, and ambience, and we'll set that up with sliders, and we'll be able to save and load those settings. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.